perhaps debated it vehemently. We all have an opinion on this. Are grades the only indicator of a bright student? That's what we are looking at today as we start the week on Heads Up. Of course, we have two bright debaters with us for and against the motion. Vipul Agarwal from BITS Pilani, who believes, yes, the grades are very key. How else do you tell someone's potential? And Divya Malik, studying design at Pearl Academy here in Delhi, who disagrees. Vipul, why do you believe that grades are all it takes to determine what a person is all about? You have a minute.
Yeah, so for me, before we analyze the relationship between good grades and a better career, we have to understand what does a good grade signify. Good grades, as I said, are they a function of your hardworking abilities, your intelligence, luck, your interest in the field, and your dedication. So for these, as Mr. Calvin Coolidge said, nothing is more important in a person than his ability to work hard with persistence. Like there are stories of unsuccessful men with talent as well as, unrewarded genius. But in the end, it's hard work and persistence that matters. So in the end, grades are a reflection of your hard work. So if you can work hard in your academics and your professional life, you're bound to succeed sooner or later. So that's my point.
And you believe that grades will reward your hard work?
Not
hard
grades, it's your hard work.
Is rewarded.
Hard work is signified by your grades. So if you are hardworking,
your hard work will reflect in your grades.
Exactly.
It will reflect in your grades. Divya, at the end of the day, if you put in hard work, then there's nothing to take those good grades away.
No, definitely. I believe hard work is important. But do you really think that your grades reflect your passion, your interest for the kind of subject you want? So according to me, like, I don't think it's your 92% or 93%, which 100%
really... 100% or nothing, yeah? Come on.
Yeah, exactly. So that really, does that really show how much you're really into the subject? Because the way we have been taught to study is like, just mugging or like learning by rote. I mean, that's just a benchmark to convince your parents or just, make them proud by getting that percentage. But that does not really reflect what you really are inclined towards doing. So I think there are other things which are better indicators of judging your performance. And these days we need that drive and that passion to really get somewhere in our career or make a career. And it's not just your marks that would really get you there.
Right. That's very passionately argued. But, all those who would say that those 2 hours or 3 hours of shouldn't determine the rest of your life. What if you're having a bad day or you just have those bad hours? Then why should that determine the rest? That could just take away all the hard work. Respond to that.
So it's just one exam, right? But it's not just one exam that you're giving and your whole grade is decided on that. There are a lot of components. So even if you have
make or break.
It could be, but then you have come to such a point that you let it be towards a make or break situation, then there must be some fault with you as well. Like you just can't blame the system for every difficulty in your life. There is a system, true. So if you have the right parameters and right evaluation, grade is just a number, as you say, it's just a number. How you decide that number makes a lot of difference. If I have the right parameters, if I'm using the right quantifiers for that, I would come to a good conclusion. Either it would tell me that I need to improve, or it would reaffirm my it would reaffirm my confidence in my own strength.
Right.
So at the end, it will help me either progress, or it will tell me that I'm on the right track.
Right. Divya, respond to that. The grades come with a message for you. There's no, it's there. It's there for you to see and to understand the message. There's no point in blaming the system or blaming the grades, as it were. That's the point that he's making.
No, I agree. Of course, your grades are important to get yourself admission into an IIM or an IIT. But see, what if, like when I was watching one of your previous shows and the top recruiters had come and they were saying that, okay, when we go to suppose a very qualified B school, we know that everybody else there is on the same parameter. Everybody is a 90%er or somebody's a 89%er. They're all on the same level. But that's not what they're looking for. They're not looking for the marks. What they want is that presence of mind, that at that moment, the task that you've been given, how well are you going to perform it, and how quick are you going to think? So really, it's not it's how you react at that situation, how you can handle that situation.
Beyond the books is the point that Divya is making. Yes. There's so many life skills that are needed to survive in the big bad world out there, and nobody tests you on that. You go. I think the point that you're making, if I've got it right, is that you may have the best marks, for instance, but you may sort of be not ill-equipped to handle life outside. But there's no grades on that.
True, street smartness is not a very common trait. I will give you that. But there are a lot of skills, like, when it comes to technical skills, these are very tangible skills that you develop over time. You work hard towards a particular goal. So you are just over here, if I think like when you say like you have to be on the spot, okay, for a marketing job, maybe when you're trying to sell something, you have to be on the spot, but there are a lot of jobs which don't require you to do on the spot thinking. You need to have very tangible skills for that. They come with a lot of hard work, with a lot of practice. When you have a curriculum, and when we're just talking about grading, it's not just academic grading, like, we have grading in your professional life as well. So it's a constant process, it's a constant evaluation that we make. It's like, I won't feel that, if you're going for recruiting, grading actually is just one thing. It's sort of an eliminator. It's sort of a veto. If you don't have it, you most probably won't get your foot in the door. But yeah, if you have them, you would at least have a chance for an interview.
At least a chance for interview, be it an institution or be it an organization, they need to look at some parameters to decide, what you're all about, to decide how they perceive your skills and your potential. How do they do it if you don't have grades to show?
I have a quote here from Bill Gates where he said that I failed in some subjects in an exam, and my friend, he passed in all. Today, he is an engineer at Microsoft, and I own Microsoft. So really, I mean, it's your it's really not about the marks or the passing the exams that will.
But these are like few outliers, right? Like for the majority of us, like, okay, you have Mark Zuckerberg, you had Steve Jobs, you have Bill Gates, but these are like, 3 people among 6 billion population. The rest of us we are a majority, who have to work hard and succeed.
Looks like we'll be applying for that job to Microsoft, unless, of course, Vipul, you're going to come up with something. But, there are others who would argue that, there are only, for instance, the top institutions or organizations would have just only so much on offer. There has to be a process of elimination. And how do you eliminate unless you go by those grades? How would you suggest that they do this, if not with grades or not only grades?
Like I said, I mean, just because I performed this way in my graduation exams or in my college exams, I mean, is that really the only indicator of a good career? Of course, it does eliminate you to, in that process, but I mean, there should be like aptitude, like in the recent studies, aptitude tests are a better indicator than these exams. So I would suggest a situation test or a focus group discussion or a very casual interview. These are indicators of getting to really know a person better. That's my bone of contention. There are other things which go with it, like you need your people skills, your interpersonal skills, your passion and your hard work that can't really be reflected in your grades. So you really, there has to be a system which is beyond sort of your understanding of the subjects, but this is not really the only indicator. That's my bone of contention. There are other things which go with it, like you need your people skills, your interpersonal skills, your passion and your hard work that can't really be reflected in your grades. So you really, there has to be a system which is beyond that, your college marks. So that's what I'm trying to say here.
Vipul?
For me, grading is, again, as I said, it's not limited to academic institutions. Like every day we are constantly evaluating ourselves. Like I will be, thinking about whether I did this right, how could I have done it more better. So in the end, you are also grading yourself. So let's not limit the whole thing to, academic grades. Think about grading in overall. When you are grading yourself, you always look at, okay, I could have done this much better. So this is my area of improvement. I did this well. So I'm, scoring an A in my head over there. So at the end of the day, it's about improvement, the way I see it. You see the skills that you talk about when you say, your drive, your passion. If you're in the right field where you can actually use your passion and drive, then you would do well over there. You are going to work hard towards it. So in your head, your grades, and then the way you judge yourself is going to be a much more, streamlined process. If you're caught in a wrong job, you'd probably feel a lot.
Those grades, some would argue that very often those grades lead you to that wrong job because you're not going to get what you perhaps desire, and then you're going to end up with anything that you get. And that's again sort of a function of the grades that you got. So that is sort of perhaps the other side of this.
For me, that is what being a human is about, right? You have to pick the right. If you want to pursue your passion, you have to take a risk. Right. In the end, you have to take the risk. Higher the risk, higher the gains. If you can't take the risk, you are going to suffer. I mean, that's how I see it.
Higher the risk, higher the gains. If you can't take the risk and go with the flow, accept the grades, they have a message for you, then, it's not going to be a cakewalk.
No, I think like what you said, evaluation is a good thing because it's important to evaluate yourself, your performance. But grades is a different thing here, because grades here, like when, like in a school, when you're asked to, you're under that pressure of performing well, getting good grades. Like what it really leads to is pressure and tension of, you know, and is that like how much learning is there involved? Really, I could really, you know, mug up something and maybe do brilliantly, get a 90%, but when I'm asked to be on the job, and if I'm not doing a good job because I'm not confident enough, or I'm not comfortable enough to face, you know, people and do that, so what does that 90%
Those are the soft
really
skills that you're saying, but of course teachers would say that how do you judge learning unless we sort of, you know, give you an exam, you take the exam and you are graded. I guess it is rather difficult, but if you were supposed to change the whole system inside out, if you know, tomorrow they said you could change the system and Divya has the power to change the system, what are the two things that you would add? How would you do it?
I would firstly definitely remove the grading system.
Okay.
Yeah. And
entirely.
I mean, like, see, I think it should be there, but not the way it is followed right now in our system.
So what are the key changes you would make?
So firstly, the competitiveness that has to be removed, because, you know, where each student is compared to the other, you should be competing with yourself, right? Be able to do better, and not this is 70% and 90%. That has to has to be moved. And I mean, like I said, I would want to involve something which tests you on the situation ability, like, you know, have situation tests,
think on your feet and sort of react to the situation, right?
Have like a casual discussion, more than, you know, having formal interviews. There should be something. The system has to be made a little bit more flexible. Instead
you are asking for very radical changes, you know that. Vipul, would that work for you?
For me, a non-competitive society would stagnate. You need competition for people to better themselves. Most of the times we are in competition with ourselves, but other half we are in competition with others. You know, sometimes other people spur us to perform better. That is one thing. Secondly, when we talk about, as she said, like removing the grading system, have the grading system, but evaluate on the right parameters. Like you can introduce experiential learning. Okay, it's a 6 months based project. So you see how the person has their thoughts, how do they develop their thoughts, how are their writing skills, because these are important for better career. And in the end, you can also have assignment based grades. Like, okay, this is a one week assignment. You have to solve real world problems. Then you go about it. Means these are things that right now grading system is sort of an abstraction, as I see. Like how you evaluate those grades makes a hell of a difference.
Right, how you evaluate them and how the message that they contain for you.
Exactly.
Divya, I'm completely running out of time, but a non-competitive society is going to stagnate. You do, and there are all those who would agree that you need competition, and it's not just in, you know, when you're studying or when you're a student, but like throughout life in a professional environment also. Competition does make us put our best foot forward, and it does make us sort of, you know, push the envelope, as it were.
Yeah, but what I meant was in terms of like how in classrooms there is this sort of comparison happening, you know, where like a 90% is supposed to be good and this % is not supposed to be good. So if that can be removed, because that really does put one under pressure and, you know, really makes one feel not capable enough to really go out there. So I think experiential learning is a great thing if we are judged on the way we perform according to our own abilities and IQ. I think that's a great way.
And of course, one last thing would be that if you know, if we have to have grading, because it's got to be sort of a universal way of looking, of judging students. You know, there can't just be, you know, one country having one system and another, because then how do we compete globally? Where do we stand globally? But this is a debate that most students are very passionate about. Many would agree with you, I'm sure, Divya, and I'm sure that you would have enough sort of followers who believe that, yes, we need competition, we need to put our best foot out there. This debate's not going anywhere in a hurry, but Vipul, Divya, thanks both so much for being with us on the program. Pleasure to have you. We're slipping into a quick break. On that note, let us know what you thought of the show. You can tweet us, get onto our Facebook page. Let us know what else you believe we should be debating on the show as well, and perhaps we can feature you on the program too. We're slipping into a quick break now. Back with more.